The other day we had completed about the multi-purpose project, how it is going to be formed, what are the effects or better result is seen of availability of multi-purpose projects in India, and there are certain mentions about those multi-purpose projects which are present in north, south, east and west of India. Rivers have been talked about and the benefiting states have also been mentioned. The thing we are going to start today is distribution of area under irrigation. A little quick recap. Irrigation, a process in which humans themselves are supplying the water to the field, that is agriculture field, so that agricultural activities can be carried out with the help of that available water. The other source of the water available is rainwater. This means that the water available throughout the year is not going to remain same. We have learnt about that there are 4 months exclusively given to us by nature where monsoon is really active. Present is that particular time where monsoon is active. We have got rainfall. Some places have got sufficient amount. Certain places we see the scarcity, but yes, monsoon is available, but for 4 months. Starting from June till September or October, it is going to get over. That means another 8 months are there in the year where we will not be receiving sufficient amount of rainfall. And we have to arrange for alternative method of providing the water to the agriculture field. And this particular topic which we have got is, that is distribution of area under irrigation. It tells us this irrigation is actually not evenly distributed. If we are talking about the area under irrigation is somewhere about 38% of the land. So total area under irrigation is just 38% of the net sown area. When I talk about net sown area, it means we have got a big patch of land that is from whole of India, but certain areas is the place where actually irrigation or rain is available and we are growing certain things. Certain areas is left as such. It is just a fallow land. A land on which agriculture is not carried out. So total will be called as the gross sown area, and where actually the activity is going to get carried out is called as net sown area. So in net sown area, 38% of India's net sown area comes under irrigation facility, which means 62% of India's agriculture net sown area is still dependent upon rain for cultivation activities, खेती करने के लिए. यहाँ पर भी we are finding is some disparity. Certain states have really developed the irrigation facility. Irrigation, it can be in the form of canal system. Irrigation, it can be in the form of wells or tube wells or bore wells or ponds or khet talawadies, whatever you may call it, but they have made a provision. Certain states have done very good in India and certain states are doing very poorly. Both the points have to be remembered because that could be used for your objective type question. Punjab is given out here as 90.8% of the net sown area being covered under irrigation. That means for every 100% of the area where agriculture is carried out in Punjab, approximately 91% area has got alternative availability of water. Alternative apart from rain. And we have got another state that is far northeast. Punjab, western part of India, northwest, and northeast, we have got a state called as Mizoram, where the percentage of irrigation available in the agriculture field is merely 7.3%. So this is a difference. Lowest happens to be in Mizoram, just 7% of the land under irrigation, and Punjab, contrary to it, has got 91% approximately. 90.8 means approximately 91%. it has got under irrigation. Now there are particular states also mentioned in your book. It talks about Punjab, it talks about Haryana, it talks about Uttar Pradesh, Western Uttar Pradesh exclusively. We have Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir. So 4 or 5 states are mentioned where it is talked about that their irrigation facility is more than 40%. Now here is the catch which you have to learn. Here we are talking about more than 40%. So the baseline is 40%. And the upper baseline we have got is 90.8. We have just talked about. Punjab has got the maximum irrigation availability in a state-wise category is 90.8. So when I'm talking about those 5 states, we have got a lower limit and a higher limit both. Lower limit is 40% and the higher limit is 90.8%. That means all these 5 states have got irrigation facility ranging from 40 to 91% approximately. Question might be there in this tune. Which of these states have got irrigation facility ranging from 40% till 91%? Because 91% is not mentioned, usually students tends to come into a confusion. Where is it? Already when it is talked about Punjab 91 and we are saying it is more than 40, so obviously nothing will be beyond Punjab, but everything will be below Punjab, that is 90.8, and lower limit is given as 40%. Water crisis. When we talk about the water crisis, we are talking about a situation where the availability of water is less than the required water contents. Other day we had learnt about that one theory of 100 liters of water, 97% is saline. Have you heard about it? Did you remember about 100 liters of water is present in the world, imagine, and out of which 97% is saline, rest is fresh water, that is just 3%, and out of that 3%, we had certain proportion again divided, where it could be found in the form of ice or ice caps. It is going to be found as groundwater and it is going to be found as a free flow surface water. Remember about it? That tells us the problem which we are into. If we start with the amount of water available on planet Earth, it is huge. 70% plus of the area is covered under water. We're talking about oceans and seas and glaciers or whatever it is. But usable point is very less. And we cannot actually survive without that particular water, fresh water. That fresh water is quite less. And this is what the problem is all about. We have to take care of the availability of this 3% of fresh water which is available on Earth and utilize to the best of utilization contents. Why we see that water crisis has started taking place? Just 200 years back or 150 years back or 300 years back, there was nothing called as a water crisis. People were surviving very easily, very comfortably with the available of water in their vicinity. What has really happened now is the population is increasing, number one. And obviously, we have heard about, talked about, every adult should be drinking approximately 3 liters of fresh water every day. present population is 7.5 billion. Which means you have to multiply that 7 billion with 3 liters. That is 21 billion liters is required just to maintain the water osmosis within the body. The one particular person who is born today would be, and another 7-8 months would be requiring some food. Those who are already present, they require it, no doubt. But the one who is born today will be going for some food requirement just 7-8 months later. That means every single day when we have got those thousands of new kids getting born, another 7 months later, 8 months later, 6 months later, the pressure will be increasing on the demands of food grain. So population is one scenario which you cannot actually neglect. Third important thing is urbanization. When I talk about urbanization, I'm talking about building of new cities. Obviously population is increasing, you have to accommodate them somewhere. You need to have some house, proper house. Construction itself is going to require a lot of water, and then the new habits which we have developed, that also require much more water. Example, very good example which I observe and see it, usage of those RO plants in our homes. To get 1 glass of water, you are actually discarding 4 or 5 glasses depending upon the system which you have installed. And unfortunately, we don't collect that discarded water, we just simply drain it away. That water is good enough to be used for watering the plant. Those content water is good enough for getting your clothes washed. Those water contents are sufficient or good enough, you can wash your utensils. You can clean up your house. But that is being discarded away. We are throwing away 7, 6, 5, 4 glasses of water to get 1 glass of that RO water. And we are throwing. We have started something which is called as the shower system. Now, in standing in a shower, you actually don't know how much water you are just simply wasting. Sometimes it happens, it is too hot, the water is cold, feeling comfortable standing under the shower for 5 minutes extra. When it is too cold and your shower system is giving you that warm water, another 5 minutes standing under it, you feel relaxed. But actually that relaxing is costing you yourself some good valuable water getting into the drainage, which will not be utilized because it's going to be ultimately discarded away. So this is something which you can talk about, you can think about how to prevent it. Apart from it, we have got another new tendency that instead of growing the regular crops, we are going into something called as the cash crops. Cash crops like sugarcane, cash crops like cotton. And that is being grown in those areas which actually cannot have those crops grown. Other day we had learnt about that wheat, 1 kg of wheat is going to require approximately 1,500 liters of water. And in case you are talking about growing of sugarcane or maize, makkei, that also require a higher amount of water content. And those are grown in those areas which is already having scarcity of water. So already you have got shortage of water, and on top of it you are trying to grow those crops which require more water. So obviously shortage is bound to take place. These are all combined together. My own personal requirements, urbanization, that is the community, the food requirements, the greed to have much more money coming out, these are all combined together, and it is creating a problem where the water is in shortage, and we call it as water crisis. So this is going to now getting clubbed with certain new problems. Influential people versus non-influential people. In your book there is a mention about uneven distribution of this resource. Why we say uneven distribution of the resource? Certain people have got access to the same resource like water, which we have got much more easily, and certain have got lesser. See, you might have seen within your own localities, certain localities are being provided with the water 24 hours. Certain localities are provided water twice a day for 2 hours each. And there might be certain localities which you might have heard about does not receive the water on regular basis. See, water within a city, resource is same, people are just different in location wise, that's all. Certain locations they are getting water every day, 24 hours. Certain areas they are getting twice or thrice a day, and certain areas they have to wait for 2 days to get some water. This is called as unequal distribution of water or any other resource. Here the resource is water, so we are talking about the water as a resource. This is a problem which is persistently seen. Taking the clues from it, there is a special mention about the towns and villages. What is the percentage wise where the towns and villages seems to be having scarcity, a less availability of water. 8% of the towns of India. This is the big volume. Why we say big volumes? Because we have got millions of towns in India. Millions. Small villages or towns sort of thing. 8% of them have got a scarcity registered of water. That means they don't have sufficient amount of water which is going to suffice all's need. And when we move on to the villages, it is a whopping 50% of the villages in India do not have the access to this water on a regular basis. That's 50% of the villages and 8% of the towns. They are in that scarcity course. They have to really do something called as rationing of water. They have to distribute according to the needs or according to the supply which is available. So overall, the gist which comes out is 2/3% of agriculture region is still dependent on water, that is 66-67%, and rest all are not. They have got their own backup. So again a point to remember, 2/3 is agriculture region still depends upon the rainwater, and 1/3 they can survive or continue agriculture practices without the advent of monsoon. So monsoon comes or not, they are in a pretty good position to continue with agriculture activities. A point to mention which is there exclusively talked about, water crisis has been seen in those areas which have recently started cultivating those crops which it should not be growing. In chapter number 10 in agriculture, we had learnt about that Punjab is one of the leading producer of rice. One of the leading producers. Rice also. In rice, Punjab is giving a tough competition to Andhra, Telangana, UP, Bihar, Assam. And how is it possible that it is giving the tough competition in production of rice in spite of the fact that Punjab receives approximately 70 to 100 centimeters. So in range of 70 to a range of 100 centimeters of rainfall distributed unevenly over the state. Average is 75-80 centimeters of rainfall. But the requirement of rice is What is the requirement of rice for the rainwater is concerned? More than 100, less than 150. So it is 100 plus rainfall is required. Punjab, which receives a rainfall of 70 or 80 or 85 centimeter of rainfall in a year, in spite of it, is able to grow a lot of rice, which was previously not being used because of irrigation facility. Now this irrigation is basically coming from the groundwater, and when you are taking out more of groundwater and that same amount is not getting reversed back, obviously at the end of the day we are going to see the deficiency of groundwater. Ultimately it is going to be seen in the usage also. Now you will not be having groundwater for bathing, for factories, for this and that, because that has been utilized in production of those crops which should not have been growing out there because of whatever reasons, including the availability of water. Clear, guys? Management and conservation of water resources. Topic is simple to understand because time and again within this chapter we had been talking about it again and again through this way or the other way. Management. In other chapters also we have tried to understand how to manage the things. Answer is logically going to be accepted in this way. If I know where the problems are, I can do the rectification. So first of all, we came to know about all the problems which are present, why we are seeing that there is a water crisis taking place. In case we know the reasons, we can do the rectification. We can rectify the causes, and obviously the problem is going to get eradicated